It's been said that there is no rest for the wicked. The same can be said for the virtuous. Part 1. O Little Town of North Hill. It was Christmas Eve, 10:31 in the evening, an evening so meek and mild that not even the jailbirds bothered to sing. It's in times like these, times of peace and stillness, where even the faintest whisper of chaos can be loud enough to break glass. But this was no whisper. It was a weeping, a shrill and mournful weeping, coming from the sliding glass doors now ajar, hazed with frost set against a starry night sky. And, boxed between those doors, stood a woman, face red, eyes wide, cheeks wet from the smears of tears and probably holding back more. Schultz saw her from across the broad and dingy department of the North Hill Police. Maybe she felt something, compassion perhaps. Or more likely, this was but another case that demanded her attention, a distraction at best. Either way, they noticed each other. Take a seat. Why don't you tell me what's going on, miss?
I think my daughter's been abducted.
And when did she go missing?
Tonight.
Well, do you know of anyone who'd want to kidnap your daughter?
No.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened? I'm in the dark here.
I'm not sure I know myself.
Try me.
We had gone out to see the Christmas lights. You know, Pinewood Park on 111th.
I'm familiar.
They had some lights in the park, and we were driving by and my daughter saw Rudolph. She loves Rudolph. So we pulled in and went to see him.
And then what happened?
Then we got separated. She had to go to potty, and so we stopped at the little public access bathroom. She was in the stall next to me, and I told her to wash her hands when she was done. I heard the sink running and told her to wait outside for Mommy. But when I opened the stall, she was gone.
And you think someone then abducted her?
I figured she ran off to see Rudolph. When I got to the Rudolph lights and didn't see her, I called out for her. When she didn't answer, I started looking. I looked for 3 hours, and then I came here.
Sometimes, miss, kids just sort of sneak off. There's a high possibility that your daughter is safe. Afraid, but safe.
She wouldn't up and leave like this. She'd never do that.
Kids are funny like that, miss.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
Then how would you know?
Well,
Because I don't think you have a damn idea about how I feel right now.
ma'am, last month I had a dazed 5-year-old girl approach my squad car. She told me her mommy was flying up in their apartment and she couldn't get her down. I asked her, flying like a bird? And she said no. I said, like a balloon? And she said yes. So I told her to show me where her mommy was. The mother hung herself from the ceiling fan in the bedroom. The little girl thought she was flying. Kids are funny like that.
And what the hell is that supposed to mean?
It means kids are unreliable. I'm not saying she wasn't abducted, but I'm not ruling out other possibilities. Kids, especially young ones, like to run off. We'll put a 1057 out on her, and I'll try to see if the park has any cameras. Might take some time given the holiday. Maybe we'll find someone responsible for what happened, or maybe someone who saw what did. Do you have a picture of your daughter, miss?
Her name is Cassidy. Detective, what happened to the little girl in your story?
She was placed in foster care. You're right. I don't know how you feel. But if I did, I wouldn't be doing this job. Part 2. O come, all ye faithless. There were cameras in that park, 6 to be exact. One at the front gate, one at the back, and 4 scattered about, 2 of those being in the front of the restroom areas. You could see her, too. Though the cameras had seen better Christmases, there was no mistaking the bundled-up congregation of pixels as the form of a little girl. Schultz watched as Cassidy left the bathroom, frisking down the icy path toward the Christmas lights. Camera number 4 captured the whole thing. About halfway down the beaten path, Cassidy stopped, turning her little body to face a radiating light just off-screen, to the left of the frame. The light was so bright that, at this point, Cassidy was but a shadow in its presence. Her shadow crept toward the light slowly, before scurrying toward it. As Cassidy exited the frame, the light disappeared. All 5 of the other cameras captured different areas, making the source of the light indeterminable. The only other coverage of Cassidy's disappearance was camera number 3, which showed the event from the opposite direction. Cassidy was noticeable from the front now, still obscured by the light, in addition to an elderly couple sitting on a nearby bench, also bleached out from the radiating beam. Again, like before, Cassidy traveled toward the light source, with the glow cutting off almost immediately. The elderly couple watched the entire ordeal, looking at one another as soon as the light rapidly dissipated. Something might have been said between them, but no audio was captured on the cameras. From the timestamp of 08:47:11 p.m., when Cassidy exited the leftmost side of the frame, her presence was not seen again on any of the cameras. About 2 minutes after the light vanished, the figure of Cassidy's mom darting down the path is visible on both cameras number 3 and 4. Schultz sucked down another swig of coffee, watching the disheartened mother panic for her missing kin. She paused the tape. Eddie!
Yes, Miss Schultz.
Is this all we got?
There wasn't a lot to go off of. That place is older than my grandpa. The cameras are ancient, I mean. How was your Christmas, miss?
Fine, kid. Just another day.
Yeah, I mean, good.
Did, you have a good holiday?
Yeah, it was nice, you know, being away from all this.
When you see as much shit as we do here, it's astonishing that we still have a Christmas. Go on, kid. Thanks. Eddie walked down the hall, leaving Schultz to the company of the TV. With a yawn, Schultz furrowed her head into her palm, now wiping away a salty tear. Through one of those tired eyes, Schultz stared blankly at the frozen image of the elderly couple in the corner of the screen. See if you can track down these people.
Who are they?
Witnesses, I think. They're my only lead. I know the image looks like shit, but you're good at fixing shit, aren't you? The elderly couple was bewildered by the police station. They seemed like a tender matching of folks, and the clean records confirmed it. This must have been their first time stepping foot in a place like this. Thanks for coming in on such short notice, Mr. and Mrs. Deans. I haven't had a lot to go off of with this case, so I was hoping you folks might be able to help me out here. Do you know why you two are here?
There isn't anything for us to say.
About the girl?
About anything. We don't know anything.
What he means to say is, we don't know what to make of it ourselves. If we knew what happened, we would have come to you.
And you're referring to what took place at Pinewood Park on December 24th.
It was Christmas Eve, love. It's not hard to forget.
Did you tell anybody about this incident?
No.
Why?
Our children wouldn't have taken it well. We feared they might put us in a home, or worse. We want to see our grandkids.
I see. Well, why don't you tell me what happened? In your own words.
We went to see the Christmas lights like we always do. Pinewood isn't far from our home, and we needed the fresh air anyways. We took a few laps around the park, and when we got tired, we rested on the bench. Then we saw a young girl. I was a bit concerned when I noticed she was alone, but then we got distracted by the light, and that's when it took her.
What did?
The light.
What do you mean?
Well, she called out for something. Fallow, something like that. She ran towards it, and then it sucked her right up.
What kind of light was it?
The brightest. I never seen a light brighter.
Yes, such a bright light. Warm too, very warm. It was an angel.
What do you mean, an angel?
I mean, the Lord. I saw him, clear as day. That little girl, God was calling her home.
Is that true?
That's not what I saw. It wasn't God. It was my mother.
Your mother?
He didn't see it.
Hell, I did, Ellen. It was Marlene. We talked about this.
Marty, language.
Don't apologize. I've heard plenty of shit.
March, don't tell me that I didn't see what I saw. I know what I saw. It was my mother.
When's the last time you saw your mother?
She went to be with the Lord when he was 14.
I see.
This was the first time I saw her in 64 years. She hadn't aged a day. Honey, maybe she is an angel.
A guardian angel.
Are you claiming that this little girl was abducted by an angel?
Rescued. Rescued by an angel, love.
The girl's mother would say otherwise, ma'am.
Do you not believe in God or angels, detective?
I was raised Catholic.
That didn't answer my question.
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because last month I saw a woman who had hung herself in front of her own daughter. The girl came to me and expected me to do something about it. All I could do was pull the rope from the goddamn fan. The girl had no family except for a deadbeat dad, and I'm pretty sure he got custody of her. God knows what he's doing to her. And that was just last month. So no, I don't believe there is a God. And if there is, he's got a lot of explaining to do for me.
Love, that sounds like the work of the devil, not God.
Frankly, ma'am, I can't seem to tell them apart these days.
Maybe that's because we're blaming the sheep that the wolf is using as clothing.
Let's, save the theological debate, If we can think of anything else to ask of you both, we'll be in touch. Hello, Miss Jones. Do you have a moment?
Yes. Any news?
Well, I had a talk with those old folks that claim they saw what happened to Cassidy.
What'd they say? Did they know who it was?
Well, you see, it's hard to explain. Do you know of a Philo or Fallow?
Fallow.
Something like that.
Do you mean Fado?
Maybe. Why?
That was our dog's name, Fado. He was a King Charles Spaniel that ran away last month. Cassidy was heartbroken. I was gonna get a look-alike for Christmas. She wouldn't have known.
I see.
Why? How do you know about Fado?
The woman I spoke to, she said Cassidy called out the name before she went missing.
Do you think someone might have used the dog to kidnap Cassidy?
No, that wouldn't make sense. Unless you can think of someone that knew your daughter that well, there's no way some rando would know about the dog or use it as bait of any kind.
Unless Fado was there. We don't live far from the park, so it's possible.
But what are the odds of that, ma'am? It seems like an unlikely coincidence, don't you think? And even if that's true, it brings us no closer to finding your daughter.
I know she's out there, Detective. I'll search myself if I have to.
No, that won't be necessary.
Then tell me you'll find her.
I'll do everything I can, Miss Jones.
So will I.
Part 3. Hark, the Herald paper sings. Miss Jones went missing 3 days later. New Year's Eve, same park. A brutal irony. They had begun taking down the Christmas lights, but that didn't deter the hopeful mother from searching every last nook and jungle gym for something. Anything. The missing report was listed on page 7 of the North Hill Herald. No one told Schultz the woman had gone into Pinewood, but after the final words she spoke to him, her absence led him to the only place a mother like her would have gone.
Another one? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, the mother of the last girl.
Oh, hell. I thought this was all over.
Thought what was all over?
You never heard?
About?
The missing people. I thought an officer all folks would have known.
No, I didn't. Enlighten me.
I mean, it's been a few years since all that trouble, so my memory's a little foggy. But what I remember was 3 or so people going missing in the park. Maybe more. Start with a young boy. Mom said he went out to play on the playground. Didn't make it home for supper. There's no body was ever found. No blood or nothing. Just vanished. Same thing with the next girl. No blood, no ripped clothes. No, nothing you'd expect. Her mother was even with her.
What about the cameras?
The folks down at your station said there was nothing solid on the tapes. They said it could have been a kidnapper who lured them in a truck. Something about headlights messing with the cameras. But they never caught anybody.
What about the third victim?
Third victim was a man who used to sit in this here chair. His name was Vinny White. Good man, family man. Vinny thought there was a wild animal out there. Something that was eating those people or carrying them away, more likely.
Like a bear?
Like I don't know. Vinny never found out. He went missing too.
What do you think it was? You think they ran off?
Maybe the kid, but not Vinny. He had a family, wife and 2 kids. No reason for a man to leave all that behind. I think they were taken. But don't ask me who or what did it.
You said Vinny White?
Yeah, Vincent White. The young girl was named Bree. She was Indian, I think. I don't recall the first kid, though.
One final thing. You haven't seen, a dog around the park, have you?
Like a stray? No, not for the last 6 months in Pinewood. Why?
No reason. It was just a stupid hunch.
If I do, I can call you, Detective.
I appreciate that, but it won't be necessary. The sun dipped past the horizon as the detective heaved a satchel of tapes down toward the station. The city, draped in a blanket of fresh snow, glimmered in the moonlight above as Schultz crunched through the ice below. As Schultz approached the department, she watched as her shadow stretched across the brick-and-mortar building. She turned, holding back a visible breath. There was a light in the distance, past a bundle of city signs and stoplights. It looked like a broken street lamp, but Schultz couldn't be sure. There was something, someone, centered within it. She stepped forward, trying to get a better look at the tiny figure, but as she did, something within her told her to stop. She squinted at the light in curiosity before shrugging off into the station, her eyes quickly adjusting to the dimness of the drabby place, as the glow from outside faded out of view. Schultz sat forward as Eddie popped in the tape from camera number 3. After a curtain of static pulled away, the detective could see a similar sight. A strip of concrete hedged by bushes and trees halfway covered in holiday lights, some removed. It didn't take long before the panic-stricken strides of Miss Jones entered the frame, before disappearing into the surrounding duskiness. Just as Eddie went to fast-forward the tape, Schultz lunged forward in her chair. "Pause it!" Eddie punched the button with his finger as Schultz rocked toward the TV, pressing a finger against the static image of the elderly man, Mr. Deans, as he walked down the same path. Part 4. Never a Silent Night. Hello? Mr. and Mrs. Deans? North Hill Police. It's Schultz, Detective Schultz. Damn it! North Hill Police. We tried calling, but no one picked up. I just have a few more questions about the Christmas Eve incident.
Lights, please. And there were the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night.
Mr. and Mrs. Deans?
The angel of the Lord came upon them. The glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
The only evidence leading to the whereabouts of Mr. and Mrs. Deans was found on the answering machine of Kimberly Bassett, tenant of Suite 236, an adjacent neighbor to the Deans who had joined a Bible study with Mrs. Deans 2 months prior to her disappearance. While she missed the initial phone call, the ringing from Mrs. Deans did awaken Kimberly Bassett in the small hours of the morning. Before she listened to the answering machine, Kimberly claimed that the apartment suddenly became dark. And then what happened?
And then I put on my robe and went next door.
Did anyone answer?
No. I tried another time. But it was awfully late, and I didn't want to disturb anyone.
Were you aware that the front door was unlocked?
If I was, I would have gone in.
I see. And, when did all this occur?
Maybe 4 or 5 days ago.
Is there a reason you decided not to report the Deans missing?
Oh. I didn't know they went missing. Well, at the time at least, I figured they were out of town due to the New Year. Ellen said that she and Paul had grandchildren, and I guess I just figured that they were with them.
I see. Well, in the future, if you should hear or see anything out of the ordinary, don't be afraid to call us.
Well, there was one thing out of the ordinary.
And what's that?
They had been fighting, Ellen and Paul. Something about his mother. It was strange, because she died years ago, before I knew them. But whatever they were saying got heated, and these walls are thin. I think Paul stormed out, and that's why he didn't come home.
I see. Part 5. She came upon a midnight clear. There you go.
You get what you needed out of them? Good. You, in need of anything else, partner? Looking awfully grim.
I'm fine. I'm just ready to catch the son of a bitch.
Aren't we all? Finny would have respected the hell out of you. And I do too.
You don't know anything about any strange lights around here, do you?
Lights? What's this, another one of your hunches?
Maybe. Have you?
We've had a couple complaints. Yeah, people saying they've seen weird stuff around here is common, though.
What do you mean, weird?
I don't know. Bigfoot, aliens. Typical.
How about predators?
Oh, sure, them too. We've seen the occasional nasty critter. Snakes and lizards. And what have you...
Any that glow?
What, like fireflies?
Never mind. You, have a good night, Ranger.
You too.
Schultz trudged through the slushy ice that coated the concrete path, the same path taken by the lost ones of Pinewood Park. She then stood, like a glacier erected from the ice, completely still. Breathing in a wistful lungful of frigid air and exhaling a moment's worth of clarity, glancing up at a pathway light, letting the light soak in amidst an orange sky. They all saw something different. A lure. A lure. Well, what makes something alluring, though? Something that we really want.
Hello?
Mrs. Anand?
Yes? Who is this?
You don't know me. My name is Detective Schultz. I work for the North Hill Police Department.
Is this about Bree?
Yes, well, sort of. I wondered if I could ask you something about the night your daughter vanished.
Okay.
The night she vanished, you were there, correct? Pinewood Park?
Yes, I was. I told the police already.
Doesn't matter. Ma'am, have you seen her since? Ma'am, I'll believe you. Have you seen Bree?
Yes.
Was she in the light?
Yes. Is it happening again?
I think so. Listen, when you saw your daughter, where was it?
My backyard. It was 2 days after Bree went missing. I woke up in the middle of the night and heard my little girl crying.
And you're sure it was Bree?
Officer, she's my daughter. I know her voice. I know her cry.
So when you saw her, did you approach her?
No, I wanted to. So badly, but I knew that whatever that was, it wasn't my daughter.
How did you know?
I saw her from a ways off. She was wailing for me, crying. I opened the door to run to her, but then I noticed that light again. The same one from the park. It was all around her.
So you saw the light at the park?
Yes. I saw Bree run into it with open arms. I couldn't stop her. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. What'd you see in the light the first time?
You wouldn't believe me. Somehow, it was my daughter. My first daughter, before Bree.
I see.
No, you don't understand. I miscarried. She died in the womb. Yet, this was a fully formed girl. Somehow, though, I knew it was her. I hoped it was. But how could Bree have known?
Mrs. Anand, I have suspicion to think that Bree might have seen something you didn't when she looked into that light.
What do you mean, officer?
I mean, the light is like a lure. Whatever you want to see is what it shows you. I think whatever took your daughter is like an angler.
An angler?
I know it sounds foolish, but you of all people have seen the damn thing, whatever you want to call it.
Have you seen it?
Not yet.
Then I'd suggest you watch yourself, officer.
Thanks. Part 6. Do you see what I see? The park brushed its chilly air against Schultz's neck, causing her to turn from the payphone, heart pumping. Despite the empty sidewalks, the place felt very much alive, as much as an undetectable predator breathes over the shoulder of its prey. She knew she was being watched now. And regardless of rhyme or reason, the angler, as she called it, was still in the damn place, as far as she knew, at least. Thickets of trees obscured the surrounding sleepy city, making Pinewood appear far more remote than usual. And as the sun set on the late January evening, the faint glimmer of a radiant light from the depths of those very thickets grew louder, heralding a beckoning invitation for Schultz. She went. Eventually, as soon as the illumination of the lit park pathway was merely gone behind her, the glow of the light was finally nearing, just through a few more trees. Schultz stopped, looking up past the shadowy snow-covered evergreens, into the night sky, perhaps wishing a silent prayer. Though Schultz was not one for praying. Her footsteps along the icy trail had grown mute in comparison to the beating of her heart, which now beat its drum-like chant through the entire park. That is, until it skipped for a moment, not at the light, but at that little shadow it cast. The silhouette of a young girl. It was the same black hair, the same small eyes, the innocence tucked away within them. It could have been the girl, Cassidy, or any of the others for all she knew. Shadows of hope illuminated by a light of hopelessness. What do you want?
Officer, please help me. I'm so scared. I can't find my mommy.
You're not the girl. What are you?
Please, sir, please.
You're not the damn girl. What are you? She clenched her eyes so tight before the heat of the light vanished from before her. She couldn't tell whether they were open or shut now because the darkness permeated her vision. Rubbing her fingers against damp eyelids, the color around her slowly faded into view. Then, the twig snapped from behind her and the glow returned, pushing its way through the tree line. She turned to face the sound, running after it. Where the hell are they? The dangling glow of the lure shone brightly in the darkness. It was perfect in aiding the creature towards its escape. Yet, at the same time, a perfect target. The sound of a limp body falling echoed through the trees, dampened by the snow. Schultz bent down, snapping another stick in the process, in order to get a better look at the thing, which was still illuminated by its own light. It was a scaly mess of appendages, all attached to an anchoring mandible that hung against the dirt. Branching away from its body with the stretch of a long, finger-like spine, the glow of the angler's light dimmed. Its eyes, now lifeless, were a round, pearly white that pierced Schultz's gaze. And that gaze, for the first time in a long while, grew into a grin, one of actual joy, watching this prey of the innocent die before her. This was all she wanted. Schultz proudly stood as the creature's light faded to nothing. The detective's eyes then flushed in horror as she stared down at her shadow, cast by a looming overhead light, as it stretched along the ground.